Welcome to Unlock Your Minds. We're going to get you to the place you were meant to be. Let's get our minds back.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
All right. First of all, welcome. Thank you for coming back. We appreciate the time that you take and energy that you expense to help connect with us because it empowers us. Today, we're talking about the defining moment, right? The moment
Excited.
Listen, we talked about this last time. There's going to be moments in life. When or how do they come is the question, and are we ready for them? And if our minds are imprisoned and we're beat down, we're held back, whatever it is going on in our lives, it's not allowing us to get to the next level, we'll never be ready for that moment and we'll miss them.
Fact.
But the cool thing is this, many moments will come, right? They'll come. So if you miss one, don't fall down and go backwards like, oh, I missed it. No, that was just the shining light. That was the defining moment that, oh crap, there is an opportunity. There is a moment that I should take advantage of. So I'm gonna go back a little bit because when I think about my life story, I'm gonna get really emotional talking about it. So I'm not gonna go all the way back today, but here's what I'll start with today is this. My wife and I met when we were 4 and 5. We went to school together. We played together as kids. We went to elementary school together. And for about 3 or 4 years, we were together as children. And for me, I just realized that God puts people in our lives to make an internal connection. And we'll never forget those people. So we separate and then we come back together when the time is right.
Yep.
When my moment is right. And that was about 2015. So in 2015, my wife was heavy into her faith and going to church, and it was important for the kids. And to be completely honest, I was running from the church. I was not a good soul, a good person growing up as a kid. I was a bad kid. So when I started going to church, I felt something.
You're a bad adult too.
No. I drive bad, but I'm not a bad adult. So
no, I meant like a badass adult.
Yeah. That's where I was going.
Hey,
That's where I was going.
Hold on. Think about that for 1 second, though. How quickly did I think about the negative part of a bad adult?
Fact.
How powerful is that?
That's so
How
powerful.
easy is it for us to relate to something negative really quickly when you meant something like, dude, you're badass?
Yeah.
Well, I think what's crazy too on your point you're saying right now, in your vision, you were a bad kid, right? Bro, we'll get into the other episodes, but like how you grew up and where you grew up.
Yeah.
You had some circumstances that made you have to do things out of character, right?
Yeah.
So, and then in our mind, we think we were a bad kid. No kid's bad. It's just the environments create them. But to your point, you were running down a path because of the area you're in, doing things that would, in the world, that's a bad kid.
Right.
And then you carry that into your adulthood with us, right? So I don't want to get too much, but I think by you saying that, like knowing you now, like you were never a bad person. You're like, for Brother Grace guy there. But our circumstances, that's where you guys kind of lateral some of your story in it, right? It's interesting to have that perception. You have that perception of yourself as being that.
Yeah, it's that tape that's playing in the mind, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we have that voice that's telling us something about ourselves.
Yes.
And it's just correcting that audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are a product of our circumstance and environment.
Fact.
We are the only ones that have the power to change that circumstance and environment. So when my wife and I reconnect, she makes me go to church. Makes me. And I
know Tracy. I know she made you. You ain't got to say that twice.
I'm not kidding you when I say this, and it sounds corny. Some people aren't going to believe it and aren't going to understand it, but the ones who are strong in their faith are going to understand it immediately. We walked into church, and look, we're a biracial family, okay? We're not your white-collar typical family. We both grew up very poor, and we had to go do what we had to do to get the things in life that we couldn't afford and our families couldn't provide. So We're not your average couple. So we're walking into a church that is music. It's loud. Everybody's excited, right? They're fired up. Not your typical church where it's, Old Testament. It's really quiet, right? It's a little different environment. So I walk in, and I am not kidding you. Not even 5 minutes into the sermon, I felt like he was ripping my soul out of my body.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he was looking straight at me out of thousands of people and saw everything that I was trying to run from and hide. And I immediately felt a feeling that I felt the first time I ran from the church. That moment for me was the moment that I realized, okay, I'm semi-ready now.
Yep.
I'm not going to run now. I'm going to take it and I'm going to accept it. I'm going to see what happens, right? Now, what I said about moments earlier is so powerful because that moment gave me enough evidence and enough belief that there is something bigger than myself and I need to be ready for it and listen for it. So we continue to grow. And then I talked about last episode, the day that I met you. Let's fast forward to that day. So I meet Jason. Jason says, hey, what do you want? I tell him. He says, no problem. Let's do it. And then I get in the industry, right?
Yep.
When we get to Universal Wealth, we really start to understand this movement. But I get into
the
it.
financial services
industry.
Bad word. Bad word. It's like the F word, right? It is the F word.
Yes.
Financial services industry is the F word.
It is.
Here's the reality, though. It's only the F word because bad people are taking advantage of people in the industry.
Fact.
Yeah.
They're lying, cheating, and stealing. So you're going to get to know us and know that we actually do want to help people and do care about people. And we don't force people to do something that's not good for their family. So when I step into the financial services industry after meeting you, I start doing appointments. And I'm like freaking fired up. This is badass. I'm excited.
You are. He's very
right?
excited.
Yeah, dude, we're doing hundreds of appointments.
Yep.
And I'm so excited that I'm throwing up on the screen like
Yes.
I'm all over the place. I don't even know if what I'm saying is true or real,
Fact.
but I know I'm excited. And that's all that actually mattered because every single appointment, I wanted to share my excitement and my joy and what I learned and how it was going to change my family. What actually happened was every appointment I did wasn't me helping someone else. It was them helping me.
Fact. Fact.
I didn't understand it at first, but after, 20 or 30 of those calls, I started realizing, holy crap, dude, I'm actually not doing a whole lot for these people. They're doing stuff for me.
Fact.
What do you mean? What were they doing?
So I'm going to get personal. I'll just share up something personal. I didn't have a father growing up. I don't know how to be a father, but I have 6 kids. Go figure how that works.
Figure out how that works.
So
Amen.
I grew up very hard. I lived a hard life. In my neighborhood, you had to be tough, right? Because I was the minority. So when it came to the kids,
Hey, real quick, were you the minority at the church too?
Yes.
He was looking at you directly.
He was
in the eyes.
100% looking at you. I was going to say the same thing, but you're so into your story. I'm like, I'm not going to bring this up, but yeah, you were sticking out like a sore thumb. Trust me. I'll leave it at that. The way you explained it, you were going like Catholic church versus like Baptist or something. I was trying to break it down, and you were saying it so nice. I grew up Catholic. I like I explained the Old Testament. I used to stand up and sit down quite a bit.
Right.
I understood it. Anyway, go ahead.
I was the only white person in the church.
Okay. Hey, by the way, everybody.
I'm the only one that has authority to like bring that up.
Yes, in this room. Yes, yes.
Room.
It's funny. By the way, the whole audience knew that too, as you were awkwardly trying to explain.
Yeah, I
got you.
Yeah, I was trying to step.
Hey, we said we're gonna be real on the show, dude. We know
Yeah.
your wife's black and you're white.
Yeah.
Last time we checked it out. You're good
all
to
of
go.
our kids are biracial.
There you go. All right.
So,
Oh, that's hilarious.
I am rough with the girls, right? Not so much the boys. I'm rough with the girls. So when they're crying, I'm telling them, stop crying. Why are you crying? there's no reason to cry. But I didn't grow up with the other side of, hey, what's wrong?
Yep.
Right? Let's identify what's causing you to cry right now so that either we can figure it out and it doesn't keep happening, or it's okay to cry. Hell, I cry all the time now, right?
Yeah.
So I was on a Zoom call with a family, and we were just talking, and like a sledgehammer, this dude hits me over the head and says that, and he wasn't talking to me, he was just talking out loud.
Yep.
Of how we as parents are the biggest bullies in our children's life. We are the bullies, not the kids at the school, not the environment they're in. We can be the bullies, and we have the most opportunity to beat them down or build them up. Like, I want you to think about that
Very
for a second.
interesting perspective.
I never for 2 seconds thought what I was doing was wrong. I thought I was making them stronger, but I wasn't making them stronger. I was beating them down at their weakest moment. I had one chance to pick them up, build them up, and obviously I know this because I learned it from my wife. She points it out, right? But that moment on that Zoom call, that's just one of hundreds of examples that I wasn't put here. I'm a servant. I serve people all day, every day. But that was a one of 100 examples that I was meant to meet every one of these people. I'm trying to share my excitement and joy, but they have a message for me. But the point is, it's those moments, it's that opportunity to take advantage. And I took advantage. And because of you, and because of you, and because of everyone else that's come into our lives, it's opened my mind. It's opened my perception. I still got a lot of work to do. Obviously, you just called me a badass, and I was like, I'm not a badass, right? Obviously, I still have a lot of work to do. But where I'm at today versus where I was at 4 years ago is night and day difference.
Fact.
And that's what we're talking about today, is defining moments, opportunities, and unlocking our minds.
Boom.
Right.
When was yours? I know you have a couple, and your story is very intriguing. I know I can't go through all of it, but what was yours? And I think what's interesting about this as we go, and you guys are all listening in, they're at different phases of your life. I think you're going to start 19, 20, right? Yours happened then. Yours happened. You met your wife early, didn't know it was going to be your wife. It happened walking into a church. Something kind of now maybe small moments, but that was one you can remember.
Right.
And then mine will be what we go over, but like it's crazy how they're all so different at different times. Mm-hmm. So you don't know if you're going to get in your 30s, you're going to get it when you're in your 20s, or you're going to get one here. But I think you get them multiple times throughout. Yeah. But I think your story is very interesting on this one. So I know it's personal, but I would like you to share some because I think it's important for everybody.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as we were talking, and mine came when I was about 19 years old or 20 years old. Different upbringing, right? So as a kid, like, we played basketball and we fought. That's kind of what we did. Like, we took out our emotions in an aggressive manner. And that seemed normal to me, and I was cool with it, but right around the time, like, we got out of high school, everybody started, like, going their different directions. Yeah. So I'm sitting in like a condo with one of my friends, and he had some money, and it wasn't off of
doing hard work,
traditional things. But he had it in a safe in the house. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, I end up being like a casualty of just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But one of the dudes we grew up with, like, they burst in the door. Another acquaintance I recognized. We're all held at gunpoint, and I got robbed, and then they robbed my other dude, and it was that moment where it was like. So I have a family history, right, where my uncles, my previous it's littered in the prison system. Yeah. Whatever it is, addiction, violence, whatever it is, murder. So I always knew I was going to hit this fork in the road. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew it. Like, I felt the pull both directions. And at that time, the pull was in the wrong one. So now we're talking about retaliation and like what we're going to do about this. And for those of you who know me, I don't even know what you would call it. Let's just call it a beast inside. Right? And that was crossing the line in my mind. Like we're going to do something about this.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how we grew up.
That's exactly how you. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah. You don't let someone take advantage of you. You don't let someone step on you. And that's that systemic society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm hitting that moment. And so we make up the plan. And later in the night, I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and I wasn't doing anything, really, but not doing anything I've learned today is my form of prayer, right? I was just sitting there, like, thinking, and I heard this little voice inside, like, but it was, like, very faint, but, like, in that moment, I was hearing it loud.
Yep.
Right? Like, this is your moment. This will change the rest of your life. You're either going to be the difference or you're going to do what everybody else did. So, and it was telling me you could do it. like, Andre, you can do anything you want to do in the world. Anything you want. And what I learned in that moment is I for sure didn't want to do math. Right? Because I started thinking about funny. All the professions that I could do, and I was thinking, where we talked about Range Rover payments last episode, where my mind was at say 19, I think it was 19, was what makes money,
right?
So I thought of doctors, engineers, lawyers.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it sounds like the other two need to do math.
Yep.
So I'm going to be a lawyer.
What a great way just to break down that. Doctor, math. Okay, I'm going lawyer. Like he's picking like the one, like it's the easiest three. He didn't go like anyway.
I just believed in the moment.
I love it.
That it was so powerful that it got me to believe in myself from one moment to the next.
Hey, you said something too. I want you to stay on this because we need to get this part done. But you said something early, just a few minutes ago. You said, I was just a casualty of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But here's the reality, because we deal with adults on a daily basis that tell us, oh, it's just I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. But there was, now, back as a kid, hold on, you didn't get to choose your circumstance. You guys were in the positions you were in because of what our parents decided and the neighborhood you grew up in. We'll talk about mine. My parents stayed together, so we'll talk about that in a minute. You can still make it if your parents stay. You don't have to be totally beat up. I'm just kidding, right?
But, you don't have to have a devastating story.
Yeah, no. But think about it. You didn't choose that, but you had to grow up in it. Right. So then you just did what you knew how to do. But we deal with adults on a daily basis that tell us, oh, I was in the wrong place. You're as an adult choosing.
Yes.
To go into these circumstances that keep leading you to situations that are making it not advantageous for yourself. So I heard you say that part, and it's like, well, there was choices somewhere along the line that put you in that room instead of, hey, I'm going to go be a book nerd down the street. Now, I know there's a lot of things, but I think, like, as children, we don't have a lot of choice. You do and you don't, what I'm saying.
No, you're
but,
on it.
But at an adult, like, we're dealing with them every day, and they're like, hey, I want to run with you. I want to learn from you. And I'm like, well, bro, you're telling me you have a problem drinking, but you're at the bar every Friday night. Like, you're making these choices, and we've all done it, by the way. So I'm just not knocking anybody, but I'm like, at some point we have to decide we're putting ourselves there.
Yes.
As we start to have power of real choice. Now, I'll let you finish. But
no, but it's true. I mean, I was a boy turning into a man.
Yes.
And the choices I'd made as a boy led me to that moment. I call it being in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But I intentionally went over there. I intentionally went to a place I knew crimes were being committed.
Yes.
I intentionally had a circle of friends that were engaged in all those crimes. And I'm sort of on the peripheral, like, I'm willing to punch somebody in the face if you want me to.
Yes.
Right? So those were choices. But as I became a man, you make different decisions.
But even not as a man, you sat in that bed and you had a choice to make.
I did.
Because I'm saying, like, it's such a small. I swear, if anyone gets anything from today, it's such small moments. You had one instance to say, do I listen to this voice You can be anything under, because that was your inner soul talking. That's who you really were as a person.
Exactly.
You weren't the other person.
Exactly.
Now, if you really were the other person, maybe you'd be a different choice, but it was such a small moment. Him walking into church, realizing he's the only white dude there. That's why they were talking to him. I'm just kidding. But he's sitting in church, and it hits him for a moment. It doesn't matter where we're at. You're on the edge of your bed not knowing that was what voice that was. But in that moment, you chose the right path. And bro, what if you would have chose the other? We wouldn't be sitting here. You've impacted so many lives off of one little, you actually listened to your inner voice, the good one, and you went with it. And how many of your buddies took the other voice, and look what happened. So I know you want to finish your story, but I just think that was an important part, because as we get older, even younger, someone sitting here 19 years old going to listen to this, and they're running down the wrong path right now. That you hearing, maybe I'll listen to Andre's voice.
Yeah.
I know it comes from higher power, it comes through, but in this moment, we're going to have people all ages listening, and those moments are so small, and you have to make the right decision. Otherwise, and that ripple effect brought us where we're at today. So go ahead. Sorry, you can finish your story. I just wanted to touch on that.
I mean, you're kind of hitting the point, though.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to describe all the things that wouldn't have happened if we would have just done what was natural for us to do.
Yeah.
But that's why God came in that moment.
Yep.
Because it was that powerful. And there was nobody telling me anything. I remember telling everybody what I was going to do. And listen to this part here, right?
This part's so important.
This part is...
I'm getting chills. You've told me this story probably 15 times.
I know it's coming.
I'm literally getting chills. I'm literally getting chills right now, because that's why I'm like, man, every time you tell this is it. Like, I brought my shirt, write this down. I literally brought this. This is a write this down moment.
Yes.
Because, dude, when you're listening right now, or dudette, when you're listening right now, you're going to feel the same thing. So this part's the most important. Well, the first part was you made the right decision, but this part's important.
So it's this monumental moment when you've made a choice to change your life. And for me, that fire was burning. When God speaks to you in a moment like that, it was all encompassing. And I remember I told everybody what I was going to do. Like,
and they supported you, surely. They're like, oh, yeah, I got your back.
Go, you got to tell us part.
I told, like, family members, and they were telling me, no, be realistic. You've never received an A. You have to have good grades. How are you going to pay for it? And I'm just going to be real with what was going on in my mind. I was like, F this dude. Like, you be realistic. I'm doing what I was told to do in my soul.
Boom.
And I remember I went to my counselor. I was in college because I went to junior college to play basketball. It's the only reason I was there.
Yeah.
But thank God I did, because that's where I was standing. Mm-hmm. And I went to my college counselor. And I remember looking through my transcripts, and he was like, no, it's, that's probably not realistic with your grades. And I said the same thing in my mind, like, no, I'm not listening to any of that. If there was a way to do it, what is it? That's what I want you to tell me. What would it need to look like for me to get to my goal? And he said this. He said, well, you'd have to get straight A's. Thank you. I'm out of this office. I got what I need now. And from that moment, I got straight A's. So my transcripts look like this. And then get this part, because I want you to know how my mind thinks. When I applied for law school and got in, I got in with a last remaining semester. So my grades literally went like this, and then they just dropped just a little bit, right? Because my belief is this: education, school, titles, none of it means anything. It's what we're meant to do and where we're supposed to be going. That's what means everything.
Facts.
Right? So for me, it was this God telling me what to do, and everyone else telling me no.
Yep.
I remember I went to all my friends, like, we can all do this together.
Always.
Like,
you always go back to the homies.
And I expected it. I expected that we were all going to change our lives. Part of what was driving me was like, if you do this, you can prove anyone can do anything.
Fact.
Yep.
And I thought that was what was going to happen. I thought I was going to inspire my circle. And all I did was run off and leave him behind.
I remember,
Right.
I remember you telling me the story the very first time. You're like, man, I said, let's go. I turned around, I start sprinting, and I look back and nobody's there.
Nobody.
Like nobody was there. But at the end of the day, that was your calling for you to go, and they have their pass. But man,
But that one drop, right, led us to this moment.
100%.
And then I know we talked about the break room
Yep.
last episode.
Yep.
So now I'm going to flip this switch on you, right? Now we integrate, right? And we have something beautiful. But what was your defining moment that led to the break room?
Dude, all right, so real quick, I'm going to say this because we went through this. My parents did actually stay together. Hold on. I'm going to speak from the other lens. We did fight a little bit, but that was just more because we were kids. It wasn't for survival, right? So, but no, I grew up, my mom and dad were always, like, I had a little bit different. Like, my mom's an Italian mom. My dad he worked a lot, hard hand, very heavy hand. My grandpa wasn't the most, so he was the same way with us. So I love when you just said this, like, man, I didn't really know how to be a dad. Yeah. Whether you got him or not, just don't. My dad is awesome, and I love him to death. But my dad was very like, if we played sports and stuff, we were all locked in. Mm-hmm. If other stuff, well, you couldn't ask to play the piano back then. Okay, that's not how it was working in our house, right? That was not for dudes back then.
No,
right?
No gymnastics.
No, that was not happening, right? But then I looked at my grandma, just quickly, like, she always struggled with mental disability or different stuff, and she was hard on him. So my dad was more sheltered off, like, do this, that's kind of it, right? But great dude, he's a great man.
I've met your
your
dad is a man's man through and through.
He's a stud, dude. He's
a Cowboys fan.
That's terrible about him, but anyway, but I had the nucleus there. They always say these words, right? But they were there, right? We grew up a good life, but for me, I always my whole life pushed the envelope. I'm the middle child. On everything, I pushed the envelope, right?
I've seen your childhood photo. Out of like 10 people, he's the only one with no shirt on.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of it, right?
So I'd always push it, right? So anyway, and just cut to my first defining moment. It was having my kid at 17 years old, my first child. So, not one you would think would be a defining moment, but what it did, because I never partied in school. I never drank in school. Like, I wanted to play in the NFL. Like, I play football. That's all. If I did anything, I was playing football, and I was good. Right, I played, I started, I was always good at it. Now, here's what I will tell you. I didn't put the work ethic in needed. So I always wish that there was other kids that would challenge me at the age, because it was always just there. So one thing I always try to tell my son now is, no matter whether it's there or not, always push yourself, right? So that's why I love hearing your story. When you say stuff, it gives me the chills, because you had to push yourself during that moment of time to get where you were gonna go. So long story short, I had a kid at 17. And back then I was thinking, man, this is like the biggest curse of my life. Like, who has a kid at 17 years old, right? But it made me have to start acting different. But here's what happened. The defining moment was one, having the kid at 17. But since I didn't do anything in life bad per se, as soon as I graduated, I got my own apartment, and I did everything you could possibly do wrong from graduating high school for a year. I mean, right. Everything you could do possibly wrong, right? Thank God I had a family unit, right, that was taking care of my child at the time. But instead of going and playing college football, which me and my buddy were trying to go play together, I went into the military. So at that young age, I remember being 19, I was doing all the stuff you shouldn't be doing. And my dad said, dude, you have a son that you're responsible for? And me and mom have helped you out a little bit, but you're a big boy now. And you're now 19, and you better figure out what you're gonna do in life. You're either gonna go to school, which that doesn't look like your track, or you're going to the military, because you ain't doing this no more. And I remember that was a moment where I was like, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. And I went into the Coast Guard, and those...
Can we back up just for a minute?
Yeah,
there?
go ahead.
I mean, I'm Air Force Hood.
Yeah.
We got friends, Marines, Army, Navy, and you chose the Coast Guard.
All right, well, listen, here's the deal, right? Which is funny, by the way. This is hilarious, right? So my brother was already in. So my older brother graduated, and we're from Arizona. There's no water, bro. So I don't know why. Yeah. So it was actually, what's crazy about the story, my dad's cousin was a lieutenant in the Coast Guard. So when Brandon, my older brother, was looking what to do, because same thing. It's funny because everyone says, oh, you had the perfect household. Dude, we literally, I wouldn't say we had it good. We weren't wealthy, but we didn't have to survive. So when we got on our own, we got a little bit older, we went nuts. So it was like this other side of it. Like, we're like, oh, everything's been so good. Now you're 18. Wow, craziness. So we like fell off the rock, and my brother did the same path. And he had the same speech at 19.
Shout out to Brandon, by the way.
Brandon's stud, dude.
He's a dope ass dude.
So I saw him, and I had to make a decision. And I visited him one time. And honestly, bro, at that age, I went and visited him. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are out here having a good time. Mom and dad ain't watching. I can go with you, right? That was my whole thought of it. Like, oh, I'm gonna go, not knowing that, yeah, exactly what it was. I was like, oh, great. Mom and dad can't watch me get in trouble anymore, right? But it was that moment when I got in there too, honestly, and I got around people that, you know, even in the military, you have great leaders and not so good leaders. That's everywhere you go in life. But I found a chief that I got along with great. He had been in for 20 plus years, and I've always attached to people that have been around longer than me, and I learned from him quick. And he just grew me up a little bit, right?
That's an important point that you just said there.
Huge.
Yeah.
Massive. You got to learn from people above you. I've always been that way.
You got
right?
You got to be willing to step back and remove yourself from, oh, I'm this, I'm that. I know everything.
Dude, it's hard,
because
yeah.
Jesus Christ, none of y'all know everything, right?
Yeah.
Hell, I know everything.
Yeah.
I still argue with my wife about how I'm right and she's wrong. Even if she's right, I'm still right. But that is so important. And one of your key characteristics and traits is you can figure out something about somebody and connect with them in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, you are listening, you are paying attention. So you've always connected and you've always looked at other people that were in different places in life, and you learned from them.
All right, bro, I'm going to tell you where this came from. So this is even the first defining moment, I guess, that we missed. I cried every day going to school till 3rd grade. No joke. Like, cried. Like, had to be put into class. My dad's like, bro, what's up, dude? You're like good at sport.
And you're not experiencing that with one of the babies now.
Oh, I'm experiencing a whole. But listen, this is where I learned that trait. Because I was always crying. So kids were looking at me like I'm like, you know. In 3rd grade, Miss Gentry's class, I was like, I don't know what it was. One day I went in and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just make friends with everybody. And that's how when I would go to school and change my brain, as I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see my friend. So I would just start to learn. And I was in 3rd grade, I remember in the class, and I would just ask them things. What do you like? I like a car. And I would learn, okay, then that was my car friend.
Yeah.
This is this friend. And I did it to break out of something that I was like, in my mind, I started to get like 8, 9 years old. I'm like, these kids are going to beat me up or something. Or they're going to start making fun of me because people started to poke at me a little bit. So that's where I started to learn as a defense mechanism to stop crying over something that didn't make any sense. Yeah, I'm dealing with it every day. But you know what's funny? The last 3 days, he's like, let's get to school early. I don't know what clicked for him over the weekend.
And this is the baby we're talking about. The baby wants to cry every day going to school, don't want to go to school.
So going back to the final moment. So having the kid young, because, dude, if you looked at that point, I was like the perfect one of my other brothers are getting in trouble. One's in 7th grade getting arrested for shooting through windows and shoplifting. That's Matt, right? And then my other brother, we're 2 years apart. My other brother is, you know, doing some extracurricular activities you're not supposed to be doing, and dad finds little things in your middle counts over your car. So my point is, like, they were kind of the one, and I was always the one that's like, oh, Jason's the best child. And I have a kid. And it's like, boom, the best child thing's off. And you know, I won't get into sides of the family, but that was my first one, not knowing at that moment it was going to change my life forever. And then the next one was at 33 years old. So you do all this, we cut through life. People say, man, like, you have to like really hate something to go to your next level. I don't think that's true. You have to have an unsettling something inside of you that makes you want to go. So I remember like it was yesterday. I'm 33 years old. It's January of 2015, and I'm sitting in my cube at work. Now, at this point, I'm at University of Phoenix. I'd been there almost 10 years. I'm top 1% in enrollment. I've gone to every trip they've ever given. We have a nice home. We have our cars. We're making over almost 160,000 combined income, me and my wife, coming from where we're like, spending all of our money, don't know what to do with it. But we've made it in that middle class area. We're doing good. And I remember sitting in my cube, and we all talk about a voice hit us. We all believe in God. That's ours. Whatever you believe in, that's what hits you, right? But I'm sitting I sit down. And I'm like, there's no way on earth this is what I'm meant to do the rest of my life. Like, I have gifts, I have talents, I have dreams all the time. They're always in my brain. I'm like, there's just no way. And I was like, God, this cannot be it. And at that point, I'm not deep in my faith. Right. I just said, I came up with my family, always said, hey, have faith in your life. My grandpa was a deacon, so I've always been around it. And like me saying God's like could have been talking to a wall, by the way. and in that part of where I was at spiritually, and I'm like, God, this can't be it. And literally March, my mother-in-law that same year says, hey, I want you to meet this finance guy. And we'll get into that later.
The F word.
Yeah, the F word. I want you to meet this finance guy. I'm like, finance guy? Not 90 days after, you listened to, mine was 90 days, yours was right away, different things, right? I heard this voice, and I'm like, this can't be it. It's like, God, come on, man. Finance? Talk about not math. Not math, and I can't even add. I'm like, I haven't been good at math my whole life. I'm like, finance. And then I thought finance, he'll help me with my finance.
Yeah.
And not the fact that we'd be running one of the largest fire service companies on the planet. That wasn't in my brain. I'm just like, and then I went and met him, and the rest is history, right? Well, we'll get into that later. But those moments were at 17, I was supposed to be going and playing college football. I put everything into that. I could have easily went to junior college or went and played D2 or something. And that changed. And I thought to myself, oh, my life's over. Oh, no. And then I decided to make the dumbest mistakes. Thank God, God was looking out for me. It kept me not getting in too much trouble. And then the next moment hit the military. And 33 years old, man. So I was in my 30s. I'm 43 now. 10 years ago.
Jesus walked into your life.
Dude just hit me. Like a
Not
freight train.
Jesus,
No,
our Jesus.
Our Jesus. You'll meet our Jesus. But I think what's important is like,
Jesus.
and then we'll get the break room happens, right? Where I meet you, right? The Zoom, I meet you, right? And then, but I'm going to just reverse this back. If you don't understand that was a moment you had at 19, you wouldn't be, the break room wouldn't make sense to us.
No.
If you don't understand, meeting Tracy Young, and then now you meet her again through, we won't get into all this, but through a relationship, through another friend, you guys reconnect, and then you're sitting in that church and it hits you and you know it hit you. Because if you don't know the moment hit you, you can't grab the next one.
Right.
So now,
or you don't have the courage
right
to do what the
someone
voice
left
is
a comment
saying.
in the thing on our thing. I don't know if you guys read it or not. They said, yeah, it's great. You can go after it, but you have to have courage and you have to have action. They wrote that, so I'm glad you used that word. They put it in our comments last time. And it's true that you won't have the courage to say it's coming. Now, bro, like I got up this morning and I'm like, what's coming next? Like I'm looking for it now. Now it's different. Now, once you know it's there, you start looking for it. And that's the part where I know people are going to watch today. They'd be like, maybe they felt they had their first moment. Or maybe they just today listening to our stories, they're starting to realize there's a moment there.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, or maybe you haven't felt like you've had it yet. But I am telling you.
Or you missed it.
Most people think, I missed it. I missed my opportunity.
You might have missed your first one.
And they give up.
But it rolls back around. Life has a way of like whispering to you at first. Then it starts getting your attention a little bit more aggressively, right?
Uh-huh. And then it kicks the shit out of you.
And then, then you're going to hit rock bottom, right? If you don't follow it. But that's the beauty of life. It's ever evolving. There are always opportunities to change.
100%. I think what's crazy, I'm just listening to our defining moments. I'm listening to yours and I'm like, how the hell did you get through that? And then I'm probably saying mine, I had a kid at 17. You're like, how the hell did you get through that? I'm listening to you.
No, but I also know what you were doing. You're kind of glossing over that point. But I also know what you were doing after you got out of high school for that year, right?
Dude,
and I am thinking that because I've seen a lot of my friends, a lot of them, not be able to get out of that moment.
Yep.
Yeah. And the reality is this. You heard from each of us, right? You heard a small piece of each of us, and you're going to get the full stories. But here's the reality. Every one of us, Andre and I grew up a little more alike than Jason and Andre and I, but the reality is this. There was determination, there was courage, there was desire, there was opportunity, and we all acted on it.
Fact.
We all decided this is not how we're going to live our life. And sadly, you're going to have to drop people off in your life.
Fact.
It might be mom, it might be dad, it might be aunt, uncle, sister, brother, cousin, best friend. You heard it today. Andre decided at gunpoint, this is not going to be my life. And he took off in the other direction, expecting, I hope you caught this. He took off in the other direction, expecting the people that he was about to throw his entire life away for were running right behind him and had his back. You are in the situation you're in today because you choose to be there. And I know you don't like that, and I know it's going to piss you off because you choose to be there. Here's the reality. Change your circle, change your life. Change what you believe, change your life. Be happy with what you see in the mirror, and if you're not, change it, and you will change your life. Drop a comment, hit the like button, hit the notification button, but more importantly, here's what I want you to do, because we can only tell our stories, and we're going to have other people come on and tell their stories. Your story is powerful, and the courage you have to share it will empower other people to share their story. That's what we're really looking for here.
Yeah.
Share your defining moment, share your story, connect with us. We will engage with you and connect with you to see how we can help you elevate, unlock your mind, and get to the next level. Have a great day.
Everyone drop a comment. Put in your defining moment. Drop in the comments. Let's talk this week.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you. Have a great
Hey.
one.